Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. And today we're going to do something we have not done in a while. I admit that I've been neglecting the questions box, but we're trying to remedy that. We're going to be doing a mail call today. And mail call. And if you're not familiar with this concept, what we do is we go through our contact form and we pull all the pertinent questions that we think are good questions from you guys, and we answer them here on the air. So we're going to be going down the list here. We've got quite a few questions to go through here, and we're going to try to answer some of your questions. These are all viewer-submitted questions. Some of them relate to technicalities with guns, laws, gripes, you name it. We're just going to go through and go for it here.
Did you pick these out, or did Brandy pick them out?
I picked these questions out.
So now, you kind of know. See, I don't know any of this.
Well, the criteria that I selected for these questions was when I go through, I mean, guys, we get hundreds of questions every single day. I literally sorted through about 2,000 emails the other day. And with all of those emails I went through, I tried to select questions that I felt more than one person asked. So we try to answer more questions by association of just, a commonly asked question. So some of these are kind of tricky. I put them in here on purpose to throw a curveball.
No, I'm not that smart.
And this is just off the cuff. Okay, so Michael asked, he said, can you tell me your choice between a M+M, M10X Elite, or the CMMG MK47, the Mutant? I realize they are different, and maybe you could expound on that. Expand on that? Expound? Yeah, okay. On them. Thank you, Michael. All right, well, Michael, thanks for the question. The reason I chose that question is because we have basically taken a pretty solid look at both of those guns, and they each have their merits and flaws, but he wants us to kind of expand on that a bit. And one thing that I'll say, the Mutant is a little bit heavier of a gun, but I would say it's definitely more accurate. The weight of the gun, it's a little bit heavier to me.
The thing is, I haven't really... The only time I really ever put rounds down range on paper with like the M10 was early on when they had the little bit heavier profile barrel and they had the little reciprocating stock and all that mess. I have not even put rounds on paper with the kind of remodeled guns, if you will. They have a fixed stock and everything and all that mess. So
they did change around the M+M quite a bit.
I mean, just shooting it at steel and stuff like that. I mean, we were shooting it in the primary arms video that we did first. And we were using kind of subpar ammo and everything like that, just bulk crap wolf and everything. And
we need to revisit that video with that rifle.
But each one has their merits. Like the Mutant, Eric said, is kind of a heavy gun, especially when you add a suppressor to it and everything like that.
Oh, yeah.
Plus it's DI. It's very, very reliable, and it does have a lot of accuracy potential with the ammunition that you put in it.
And it suppresses good, too.
It suppresses good, but it's still loud at the ear.
Yeah.
Now the M10...
And it's gassy, too.
Yeah, the M10 is surprisingly... It's just as quiet at the ear as it is at the muzzle. It doesn't really have a lot of blowback because it's a piston-operated system, and I could kind of tune the system really well for suppressor use. Plus, the stock folds. You don't get that on the Mutant.
Yeah, that's true.
Plus, AK mags. I mean, that's real similar. But
each gun has its merits and flaws. I don't know, man.
I can't say which one.
I like the Mutant. Man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an AR guy. I do like the M10 a lot, but I like the Mutant too.
Man, I like the M10 too. It's so hard to choose. Both the guns are excellent. They have their merits and their flaws, but that's kind of up for each person to decide. Personally, I think I'd probably prefer the Mutant.
There's a lot more common parts associated with an AR platform than the Mutant. The Mutant is a very proprietary type system. I mean, pretty much every part on that gun is manufactured to spec. I mean, there's nothing available on the aftermarket except for grips and stocks. It uses Zukov stocks. It uses Magpul grips or just any sort of AK grip
I can appreciate that the M+M2 is like really a super new and unique design, which that's kind of cool too, which really the Mutant is too.
I need to get out and actually get some good ammo and put that thing on paper real good. And see
all right, so moving down the line, Hayden wants to know, he says, hello Eric, I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel, watching relatively frequently. I know you're very knowledgeable on military surplus and antique firearms, and I've run across a rifle that has stumped me. It's an Enfield produced Martini Henry 1877 Mark II short lever, no Nepalese markings. Upon inspection, it is a smooth bore, and the rear sight letter has been replaced with a notch sight. From my research, it appears to be some sort of converted shotgun. It's full length, and from the outside looks just like a standard Martini Henry. I was wondering if you've ever run across something like this. I have, Hayden, and the reason I chose this question is because a lot of those guns were converted to blank firing guns for movie use, okay? And you look at the film Zulu, and a lot of those guns were converted to smoothbore for use in the movies as well. And they had military shotgun rounds that they issued, so that gun was either converted to a riot gun or it was converted for movie blank use. To be honest with you, I don't really know the difference. If it's got the rear sights changed out, I would imagine it's probably some form of a shotgun round that was designed to be taken in that gun. But if it has the original military sight and it's a smoothbore, then it's a chance that it could have been bored out for movie use, for blank firing use. Both of those are definitely a possibility. But I would say if the rear sight was converted, especially if the conversion looks old and it's been finished equally to the same as the rest of the gun, then it's probably some form of a riot gun. And I have seen a shotgun round for the Martini Henry, so that is completely feasible. Absolutely. All right, I thought that was a cool question. All right, Kenneth, Kennis, like tennis, but with a K. Kenneth wants to know, hey guys, I just watched your Condition is King video. Several years ago, I purchased an Enfield. I've never fired it. How can I determine if it is safe to be fired? It still has Cosmoline on it.
Oh, really? It still has Cosmoline.
Well, you got to sell it to Chad first to find out.
Well, I mean, all right, so it could have, I mean, if it looks brand new, looks pretty well, I mean, or, pretty nice up under the Cosmoline and all, it might be kind of an unissued gun that somebody may have just taken out of the wrap, maybe fired a couple of times and then just put on the chopping block, But the Enfields are, we were just having a conversation about Enfields earlier, but number one with that gun is to clean it up real good. We've got a number of videos on cleaning up Cosmoline-laden guns. Pretty simple matter of just pulling the gun apart and then just cooking some of the components and everything, getting that Cosmoline off there, cleaning it up real good.
Yeah.
Number two, have a gunsmith headspace it. Typically, you're not going to find an Enfield that's going to headspace properly. The chambers were always cut long anyways, just for enhanced reliability.
And those guns were really rode hard, put up wet.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them
mags.
saw a lot of use, and they had a lot of rounds put through them.
Yep.
Another thing, too, if it's in Cosmoline, I would strongly recommend taking the gun completely down, even down past the wood, and get all of that Cosmoline cooked out of the wood, because that wood can get soft.
We haven't done
with
an
the
Enfield
oil
video
soak.
like that, have we?
If we can find an oil-soaked Enfield, maybe we'll do a video on how to get one out of the oil and everything. But a lot of times that oil soaks, especially, you got to think, if the gun's standing up on its butt, that oil will soak down through the wood, and the areas where the wood comes in contact with the front of the frame and everything, that area can get really soft.
Well, and don't forget too that it's a 4-piece stock on like the old number ones.
Right.
So
I would approach with caution, but I wouldn't be afraid to clean it up and shoot it if it headspace as well.
Even like guns that I have, even Enfields that I have that don't quite headspace right, they do blow the brass out just a little bit. I mean, sometimes as much as like 30 thousandths.
You can neck size it.
And basically, I'll just take that brass, and as long as it doesn't bulge out around the case head, to indicate kind of a really worn out chamber face, what I do is just neck size, like Eric said, and I just reload for it. Kind of lighter pills, so it's not putting a lot of stress on the gun. And they do exceptionally well. And some of my Enfields shoot very well. So. They
do. Kenneth, that was a good question. Appreciate it. So I tried to include questions on, just all different kinds of
Enfields.
Lots of different subject matter that we're going to discuss here. Okay, so Daniel wants to know, he says, if your choice was Bren, MPX, Chris, H&K, or Zenith, Glock AR9, or Scorpion, what would you choose? Ooh. Quality gun worth SBR in as only pistol caliber SBR I will own. Probably going to get SB tactical suppressors at the same time. SB tactical suppressor at the same time. I guess he means SB tactical brace and a suppressor at the same time.
An SB tactical brace.
So he's going to get a brace and a suppressor. He wants to know which of these platforms would be the best for turning into a SBR.
There's a few things to consider here. There's number one is availability, cost, and then like aftermarket support, such as that. Depends on what you want. Like my number one choice in there, after playing around with several of these guns, is the Scorpion. I mean, it's a very inexpensive platform. It is an amazing SBR or pistol caliber carbine.
Good suppressor hose.
It's a very good suppressor hose. It is loud at the ear. It's a blowback. Now we've tested out guns that aren't as loud at the ear, like the CMMG Guard, but it uses a completely different recoil system.
Now the CMMG Guard is a good choice if you want a gun that accepts Glock magazines. Then absolutely, that would be an excellent option for you.
The Zenith, though.
Well, look, I'll put it to you like this: I've got a Zenith Z5P SBR. I've got a CZ Scorpion SBR. He's got a Glock, basically a Glock 9mm SBR in the form of his AR9, I guess you would call it. And I can say out of all of those, I'm not impressed with the MPX and how it suppresses. It's very gassy. It's loud. The CZ is a very, very good cost measure item. Yes, it uses proprietary magazines, but they're generally inexpensive and available. They suppress well. If you are going to buy one, make sure you get the one that's got the 5x28 muzzle. The early ones had like some random muzzle device that you had to have.
18 by 1.
18 by 1.
For sure.
And you have to have an adapter, which also makes the overall length a little bit longer. So I got one of the early Scorpions and SBR'd it, and my Scorpion obviously has the adapter on it, and it adds a length, which I really hate. But other than that, it's a great gun, and
they do suppress very well. They are just blowback, but honestly, like out of the 2 guns that we have, mine is actually still pending, waiting on SBR tax to come back. But God, they are such wonderful guns.
They are. They really are.
They feel really good in the hands. They've got good sights on them from the get-go. Put an optic on there, drop it on, you're good.
That's a great question, Daniel, and that's actually a question we get quite a bit, so appreciate that. I'll probably. You'll
probably flip the page and read the next question.
So Gordon wants to know, not Gordon's fisherman, but I don't want to say his last name, but anyway. All right, Gordon. Hi, Eric. Hi, Gordon.
Hi, Gordon.
I was watching your Glock 19 Gen 5 video review, and you said it comes with a trigger lock, and I don't know anyone who would want that. I'm somewhat new to guns, and I was just confused by what you meant by this. Do people not like using trigger locks? I was just hoping you could clear this up for me. I'm a subscriber, and I love your videos. Thank you, Gordon. All right, that's a valid question. I don't think that's a dumb question.
What was the law that required manufacturers to sell handguns?
It's part of that.
Was it? I don't remember if it was part of the crime bill that
it was. I think it was part of the crime bill.
Safe Handguns Act or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
What I'm getting at, and when I say, okay, if it comes with a trigger lock, I don't know why anybody would want that. The point I'm making is, if you're going to buy a gun and rely on it for life and liberty and personal defense and protecting your home, you don't want to have to be trying to fish some trigger lock off of the thing in the middle of the night when somebody's trying to break in your house and hurt you. And most people that are gun people that I know generally don't use trigger locks. Now you can have a safe if you wish. You can have the gun locked and loaded, ready to go, and have it inside of a safe if you're worried about children accessing the firearm.
Like small biometric safes.
Yeah, or a small biometric safe would be fine, like the types you put your handprint on or whatever. You do like a certain code of, a certain sequence, okay, and then it opens up the box. Some folks have small children and they want to lock up their guns to keep kids away, but if you're putting a trigger lock on a gun in an effort to keep your children away from the gun, that's really the wrong answer, because that's not going to help anything. If anything, you're probably more likely to need the gun and not be able to get the lock off quick enough.
Well, you got to think
that's why I said that.
You got to think too, certain states, with their somewhat draconian gun laws, they require certain storage procedures to be followed. They have to be locked up a certain way. Handguns may have to have trigger locks installed on them where they're not easily accessible. I know that's a really big thing. Like over in Britain, guns have to be locked up a very specific way. But like Eric said, typically I don't use trigger locks at my house. My oldest child, he goes out and shoots with me. My middle child is starting to get into it.
But your guns are locked up.
But they are in gun safes, save for my carry piece, which is beside my bed in a biometric safe at night.
Right.
But the thing is, the best thing you can do with kids is educate them.
That's right. So I think that's what I really meant by that. I wasn't trying to be sarcastic or mean when I said that, but most experienced gun people don't really use trigger locks. All right, so Gordon, that was a great question.
But it is a requirement under current law.
And look, the thing is, Gordon, it's not a dumb question. The only dumb question is the one you don't ask. If you don't ask, you don't know, right? So we try to entertain some questions that might seem a little elementary to some of us, but hey, at one point we didn't know. You have to ask somebody. All right, so Carlos, almost Santana, but anyway, Carlos says...
That was my name in Spanish.
Carlos?
Carlos.
I was in Spanish, I was Alfonso.
Alfonso.
All right, Carlos. So, hi Eric, big fan, just started watching your YouTube channel, but I wanted to know what you think of the X95 versus the Galil Ace as a life and liberty gun. What caliber do you think the Ace is most effective? Do you think that they are better than an AR, and if not, why? Also, 308 Ace versus a 308 Scar, and also why? I'm thinking about a purchase, but I need more guidance. Please get back to me. I appreciate your time. That's a good question, Carlos. The reason I chose this question is because we've done some pretty considerable work with a lot of the guns, actually all the guns that you mentioned. I like the X95. It's not a terrible gun. I will say this. I sold mine. I got rid of it because it's not accurate. I'm not pleased with the accuracy of the X95 or the standard Tavor, the SAR-21. I've not been happy with the accuracy of those guns at all. They get warm and they start stringing, and it just, to me, I want accuracy. And I don't mind having a little bit longer platform and have the accuracy to back it up. I would choose a 16-inch barreled AR over a Tavor any day. Now, I'm not saying Tavor's not a good gun. It is. It's a great compact package. If you want a bullpup, something that's light and handy, that has the power to reach out of a rifle, but with the length of a very short rifle, but not an SBR, it's perfect for that. I just kind of chose to get away from the Tavors a bit because I was just really not impressed with the accuracy at all. So I sold mine and got rid of it and turned it into something else.
Well, the thing is, man, you got to run like high quality 77 grain open tip match out of that gun to get it to shoot somewhat well.
And then as it heats up, it's still not going to shoot
honestly,
good.
It's not even as good as our 16-inch carbines do with regular old 62 grain M855 ball. I mean, they shoot better than the Tavor does with higher quality ammo.
Yeah, I've never been overly impressed with the accuracy of that platform. It is light and handy. If you're expecting a close-up altercation, then absolutely, it's a great platform. But then again, so is the AR, and the AR's got the accuracy to back it up.
The Galil Ace is a Life and Liberty gun. Like, I don't know, the Galil Ace. I mean, it's a commercial variant, you know, of a military rifle.
They are very high quality. And I do like the fact that they ran the mag adapters to be able to run like standard SR-25 magazines in them, which is really cool. I haven't really had a chance to shoot one other than like out at range day. I don't really have a lot of experience with that gun, so if I told you that it was good or bad, I'd be lying to you.
I'd still rather have an AR.
It feels good. It's got a nice feel to it. The ergonomics are wonderful. I love the position of the charging handle. I love the iron sights. I love the fact that the dust cover is nice and solid when it locks in place. I could see it as being a pretty viable option. Now for the money, would I choose that over Scar? Absolutely not. I mean, if money's not an option, the Scar is a head over heels way better gun than the Ace. But then again, I haven't shot the Ace out to 600 yards. I have shot the Scar, and I know the Scar is a proven platform.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Scar shoot that 8-inch popper at 600 yards with ball ammunition.
Right. And I mean, I'm not saying the Ace can't do it, but I'm just saying I don't have an Ace in order to prove or otherwise disprove that in any type of way. So hopefully that helped you out, Carlos. You can't go wrong with an AR. You know, build you a 16-inch gun, put a good optic on it, put you a good free float on it, maybe a good trigger, and you're going to be right there in the ballpark. So that's a great question, Carlos. Thank you. All right. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you're double dipping, pal. What? You asked 2 questions. All right, Carlos. All right, I didn't notice. Okay, so Carlos asked 2 questions. He's going to be a hog here. That's okay. All right, Carlos wants to know. Hi, Eric. I also wanted to ask what you believe was the best AK-47 variant available. I know you've mentioned the DDI and the Arsenal. Thank you again for your time. All right, Carlos, we're going to throw you a bone here.
Vepr.
AKs are neat, man. The Veprs are pretty dang cool.
Veprs or Segas. I mean, Segas aren't imported anymore, but like a real deal Russian AK. Well,
it's kind of hard to not like the Veprs.
Yeah, I mean, the Veprs are still available. I mean, really, but if you want to get like crazy, I mean, Norinco, like a Mac 90 or something. Ooh, man.
I mean, if I had to get tasked with buying, I don't know, 2 or 3 different AKs that would be the only AKs I'd ever own, I would definitely pick up like maybe a nice Arsenal, maybe a nice Vepr, and maybe find me a nice like pre-ban 91 model, AK, like one of the old school Norinkos that have like the folding bayonet and the actual, proper furniture.
Man, those things are so neat.
They are neat, and they're very high quality guns, and they shoot really good. I mean, they really are nice guns. So hopefully that points you in the right direction, Carlos.
Made of Russian machinery.
All right. Kevin wants to know.
Hey, that's an awesome name.
Hey, guns. I think he meant to say guys. That was a Freudian slip. Hey guys, I love the channel and content. I have a pretty serious question though. I'm originally from Boston, but I moved to Salt Lake City when I was 13. I was raised as a liberal, you could say borderline communist. I was raised with the fear of guns, that they were bad. I have recently changed my mind about my beliefs. Anyways, I'm rambling. I get anxiety from time to time when I try to buy a gun. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I know it is not rational. Do you have any advice to a libtard like myself?
No, a D-libtard.
A D-libtard like myself. I don't know what to do. I just want to be a good citizen and protect myself. Thanks again and keep up the great content. We need people leading the charge in our 2A fight. By the way, sorry to put this in your lap and sorry if I'm being a burden. Dude, you're not being a burden. What? The only dumb question is the one you don't ask. And do you think for 1 second that people like us would go, oh, well, you used to be this person, you used to feel this way, so your opinion is no longer valid or your needs or concerns aren't valid? No, that's a completely valid concern, Kevin.
The big thing with that is, you know, being raised in the household that you were conditioned to have a certain opinion about certain things. And, you know, when that's kind of driven into you all the time and just piled on, like that's the only thing that you really know. And then, you know, when you go to try to buy a gun or whatever, you feel like you're doing something guilty because you feel like you've got your mom and dad like looking over your shoulder going, what do you think you're doing? You know, it's conditioned in you. It's just,
you feel that conditioning taking effect that you've always been told guns are bad and yet here you are buying a gun.
But there's nothing to feel guilty of buying a gun. I mean, buying a gun is a fundamental right. You know, self-preservation, whatever the case is you want to use it for, I mean, it's your right to own that firearm.
You weren't raised like that overnight, so you're not going to break yourself with that conditioning overnight. And the best thing to do is just find some friends that like guns, hang out with them, go shooting, and just understand that being a gun owner is just a normal aspect of American society. You are not doing anything wrong to go purchase a gun, to be a gun owner. It's completely okay to have that bit of anxiety. It's all right. No one's telling you that you have to just all of a sudden take the plunge and you just dyed in the wool, you know, super pro-gun person. You can get into it slow. A lot of people that were raised in an anti-gun household, sometimes it takes them a little while to fully kind of understand where we're coming from and to kind of want to come over to our side of the camp, you know? And some people never really ever go over to our side or never really leave the other side. They're a little bit more in the middle. And look, it's okay to be in the middle. You know, sometimes being a libertarian can almost be much in that way. Many libertarians, in some cases, are social democrats, but they are fiscal Republicans. Now, those two terms almost don't even make any sense anymore because if you're libertarian, you almost can't even consider yourself in either of those camps. But some people, bear in mind, it's okay to be a little bit more in the middle if you want. Nobody's saying you have to be this, like, you know, crazy right-wing, you know, extremist or anything. But you also don't have to be a, I'm going to take your guns, dyed in the wool, you know, anti-gunner either. It's okay to just understand that firearms are tools and that you understand that you want to be a gun owner. That's okay. Just don't try to take anybody else's rights away and you're okay.
One suggestion that I would have for you is, you know, like Eric said, you know, go hang out with some people like local range or whatever the case is, befriend some people, go to the gun shop and just start chatting with people. I mean, tell your story and, you know, you might find that there's a lot of people out there that are just like you. And, you know, the thing is, once you're armed with, you know, the facts and just, you know, you buy a gun, you're armed with the facts and everything like that.
The fear will go away.
Start to try to educate your parents.
Yeah.
You know, and just re-educate them, I should say, and say, you know, hey, you know, you raised me this way, but, you know, really, I feel like you guys were wrong. I know that's hard to do with your parents, but, I mean, I've done it before, and, you know, the thing is, it's just, the truth hurts sometimes.
I think, too, you'll find that once you get into those circles of people that are gun folks, and you tell them, hey, I started out as this, but this is what I am now. You know what they're going to view that as? They're going to view that as a challenge to want to bring you closer to their side. They're not going to shame you away and go, oh, screw you, you're not important to us. That is not how this group of people works. That is not how the pro-gun people of this country are. They are always willing to accept anybody and to help them see the right path. So don't ever think, Kevin, that you have to be apprehensive about this. This is your right. You're not apprehensive about what you say, are you? You say what's on your mind, most of us do. Then the Second Amendment should be the same way. It is your right, and you should not be ashamed of your right. You should not be ashamed to take advantage of your rights. So that's a good question, Kevin. I thought we would address that. Jeremy wants to know. He says, I'm looking for a World War I issue SMLE sling, and I was wondering if you knew of anybody that may have one. Either web or leather will do, but I prefer leather. Thanks.
One of our favorite places ever for slings. And
I printed this out just for you.
Yeah, and other military and accessories is Liberty Tree Collectors.
Dude.
Wonderful, wonderful, and dangerous website.
I have given those people so much of my dang money.
I ordered like $200 worth of slings. I'm like, which rifles don't I have slings for? It's like, and then you pick them out, and you're like, oh crap. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Liberty Tree collectors. Liberty Tree collectors, or you could also go over to World War Supply.
Yeah, World War II Supply?
No, World
War Supply. I buy stuff from them on eBay.
They sell like a bunch of repro holsters and web gear and slings. And Liberty Tree Collectors also has several things, so that would be my suggestion.
I found that original M17 sling on World War Collectors, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
Through eBay.
All right.
eBay.
Jonathan wants to know, he says, hello, what's better, a Smith & Wesson Sport 2 AR or a Ruger AR? Thanks.
Smith & Wesson Sport 2!
Yeah.
That gun surprised the heck out of us in that meltdown.
The Sport 2s hold up pretty dang good. Now, we haven't done like a meltdown video on the Ruger AR just yet, but we probably will in the future. So we can't really call it until we really...
No, but the Sport's always been such a great and just value-minded rifle.
Yeah.
So good.
The Sport 2 is a great way to just buy a bone stock gun and then upgrade it slowly over time. They are wonderful guns for that purpose. You know, I can't really speak too much about the quality of the Ruger ARs. I've ran them in a very limited amount. They seem to do okay. And you have to remember, a lot of these manufacturers buy their parts from like the same group of people. Yeah. So it's like, it's just a different name on it, but man, those Smiths are nice.
The Ruger ARs, they've got a few kind of quirky proprietary things, like the front sight base is proprietary. It's got a little bit neater features because it's got kind of a stepped texture to it, so it kind of, I guess it would maybe mitigate light reflecting glare and stuff on your front sight. That's kind of neat, but I still prefer just a regular old forged front sight base, just like what comes on the Smiths.
That's kind of hard to beat a Smith. All right. So, good question, Jonathan. I thought that was just kind of a nice generic one. Don't. Okay. Let's see. Dustin wants to know. All right, this one's kind of long, but I thought, we'll have a look here. Said, I've been waiting for a week for my background check to come back to purchase a handgun. I live in East Tennessee. This isn't my first firearms purchase, and every other time I've made a purchase, I'm instantly cleared. I have no record, and I've never been in any trouble other than a speeding ticket. The only thing the FFL dealer can tell me is that the TBI, the FBI, says that the TBI says that the FBI is holding it up. Do you know why this could be taking so long? I've been wanting this firearm for quite some time, and I finally have enough money for it. I'm paid up, so I have no money and no gun. Any information you could give would be greatly appreciated. I can't seem to get much out of anyone. P.S. Love your YouTube channel. I've been a fan for a long time. All right. So, Dustin, basically with a delay on your background, it usually shouldn't take more than 3 business days. So a lot of people are confused about this. They go, hey, well, my background got delayed. What's going on? They can only hold the gun for 3 days after 3 business days after the NICS check has been submitted. So there should really be no reason that it should take a week. They should have called you back on the 3rd day and go, hey, well, we haven't heard back, but... Even if they haven't heard back, they still have to release the firearm.
The thing is, like, you've been delayed before, like kind of when you were in limbo between carry permits and stuff.
Right.
Right. See, like, I haven't used a regular background check in forever because I've always bought guns with a carry permit or fill out 4473s with carry permits.
I've only bought like 1 rifle, maybe 2 rifles without a carry permit probably in the last 10 years at least. At least 10 years.
But, I mean, really, like when we were at Moss, if you were delayed for 3 days... I mean, after that,
they can only hold the gun 3 days. So now that also depends on local laws. I mean, a given state might have a certain law that says otherwise.
Tennessee has any crazy waiting periods.
I don't think Tennessee has a waiting period, so it shouldn't be more than 3 business days. So I thought that was a valid question because a lot of people ask questions related to, hey, what's the difference between a waiting period and a background check? A waiting period is a instituted mandatory time that you have to wait before the firearm is allowed to be released to you. A delay on your background check is simply, it could, and this is what I tell most people. Let's say you have a last name like Smith or Davis or Jones or something really common, and let's say that your name is John Smith. Okay, real generic name. Say you have a generic name like John Smith.
You married to Pocahontas?
Exactly, and you married Pocahontas, but you got a generic name like John Smith, and when you submitted your background check, 10 other John Smiths were submitted at the same time, but only half of them included a social security number, and you didn't include a social security number. Well, do you realize how many John Smiths there are that they're going to have to thumb through to find you?
There's probably only one with the middle name Jacob Jingleheimer.
Well, and that's fine. So remember, sometimes if you have a really common last name and if you don't put your social, you're not required to put your social down on a 4473. If you don't put your social down, you could get delayed. If you do put your social, that is essentially a unique identifier that number, once they type it in, it's going to come immediately back. If you ever submit your social and it comes back delayed, it's because they were probably out on a smoke break or lunch break or something, because if they're there and they're running background checks, there's no reason why a social should cause a delay.
I didn't say how old he was, but I mean, if you're over 21, get yourself a carry permit.
Yeah.
You know, or when you turn 21, if you're younger, get a carry permit.
Hopefully this helps, Dustin. We just thought we'd elaborate on that for you. That is a common question. Believe it or not, we actually get that question a lot. So, okay. Andreas wants to know, hello! First of all, I'd like to say thank you for an awesome show. You make me want to move to Georgia.
Come on down.
To the question at hand. Being born and raised in Sweden, I can't help but notice that Erik's use of Swedish military garments such as the M90 jacket, M59 combat shirt, and M59 cap, which I love very much.
And so forth.
And so forth. It's rather frequent, and other references to Sweden, such as the Mora knives, for instances, and the reloading of wooden 6.5 by 55 blanks appear in your videos again and again. How so? Is it utterly irrational? And I just need to know. What's the deal here?
Yeah, it's utterly irrational, and I just need to know.
What's the deal here? You know, it's funny.
We like the Swedish firearms and clothing, yeah.
We do. So that's a question that we actually get quite a bit, believe it or not. It's no mystery that I am a humongous fan of Norwegian, Swiss, and you know, Swedish military, whether it's various rifles. I mean, heck, I own a Swiss Condor motorcycle from 1974. So anything that's Swiss, I guess, what would you call that? What would you call folks from that region? What would be a blanket term for them? Would that be slop? No. What do they call? What's the word for folks that are?
We are very uncultured.
We're very uncultured.
Well, you got Norwegians.
You've got. Well, I know that, but I mean, like
people,
the folks from that part of the
Switzerlandians.
So I've just always really been a big fan of Swiss firearms, Norwegian firearms, Swedish firearms. I mean, I like the technology that goes into the way they make things such as cutlery. Like you asked about Mora knives. Well, I like Mora knives. I mean, I can't help it. I like this kind of stuff.
Let's see. What are those axes? That axe that you bought me for Christmas, the hatchet. Is that Swedish? That's Swedish, isn't it?
That was
Han.
What do they call that thing?
Holksbrusk.
Holksbrusk. Yeah, something like that.
But the thing is, like the Swiss and the Swedish, they make insanely high quality tools.
So look, I'm going to tell you right now, Andreas,
man,
if I'm ever in a store and I have a choice to buy a Swedish camping axe or an American camping axe, I'm probably going to buy the Swedish tool. If I'm looking somewhere and something's made in Switzerland or it's made in, I don't know, anywhere else, UK for instance, I don't know, England or Switzerland, which tool am I going to buy? I'm going to buy the Swiss-made tool. I like Swiss-made, watches, knives, cutlery, firearms, obviously. I have every Swiss firearm from 1860 until now. I have most of them. I mean, like, this is a Norwegian Kammerlader. Okay. Uh-oh.
Whoa. There goes the lighting.
There goes the light. Yep. This is a Norwegian Kammerlader, and this is one of the earliest Norwegian breech-loading service rifles pretty much in the history of military use. I mean, this is
like a little miniature mortar.
Yep. Yep. So,
love that.
I guess the best answer that I would have for you there is that I just like the technology that comes out of Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, all of these other places. So yeah, I can't explain it, and I'll elaborate briefly too.
Well, and your camo was sent to you from a fan, correct?
So a lot of times when I get these camo jackets, hats, shirts, things like that, a lot of our viewers send those things to me as a gift. So I like to wear a lot of clothing in the videos that are sent to me as a gift. Just to kind of show my support for people all around the world and for militaries around the world. I mean, if I get an email from a guy who says, hey, I'm an E5, what would be the equivalent of an E4 or E5 over in Norway, and I sent you a package with some, military uniforms and things just to show my support and say thank you. Heck yeah, I'm going to wear that stuff because I support all of my friends around the world, and those folks cared enough to send me that stuff. So obviously, I'm going to wear it to show my support and to say thank you to them. So hopefully that's an adequate explanation. I saw that question and I thought, you know what? I'm going to answer it. So
I don't ever wear that clothing because no one ever sends me any clothes.
Yeah, man.
All right, so this is from Kenneth.
All right, go ahead.
So I just became a gun owner this past week. Bought a Glock 19 Gen 5 and M&P Sport 2. Oh, yeah. All right. I feel like watching your videos has helped me learn proper safety and knowledge. Anyways, I was born with cerebral palsy and my left arm cannot extend fully straight, so I have to hold my handgun with bent elbows. I noticed that I was firing low on most of my shots. Do you have any suggestions for my grip and arm alignment, or grip or arm alignment?
I thought that was a good question.
Well, like most of the time when I'm firing a handgun, I don't extend my arms all the way out. Let's see what you got there. Typically, we'll bend your arms in a little bit. It's kind of common practice just to let the pistol recoil freely. If you straighten your arms like this, it's just not as good. Not as good. That's easy. It's just not as good. But you can usually bend your arms a little bit, and if you're able to, I don't know what your hand strength is like, but if you're trying to control the pistol and you're sending your shots down, you're probably jerking the trigger a little bit. Yeah. So basically, just press the trigger just gently, and also to control the pistol a little bit better, kind of imagine like you're taking a stick and you're bending it like, say you've got it like kind of a U-shaped stick or something here, and you kind of bend it in. Just think about that when you're squeezing your pistol, kind of torque your arms around a little bit, and that'll actually help control the recoil and stuff as well, and then just pulling straight back on the trigger. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing, because usually if you're shooting low with a handgun, usually just jerking the trigger, anticipating the shot, and it's just going,
I would just work on your grip and make sure, you use what Chad said, and then also just control your trigger squeeze. I thought that was a good question, and one thing that I wanted to make clear with answering this question is that we definitely support folks that have disabilities. I mean, everybody has a right to defend themselves, and everybody should feel empowered to want to defend themselves. Don't let any type of disability stop you from defending yourself. So we thought that we would answer that question.
There's a fella, I'm sure a lot of people have seen him before on Instagram, but I think his name is Nub Gunner, and he literally has like nubs for hands. He's got a few kind of phalanges that he uses his fingers and to manipulate the firearms, but he shoots like 3-gun style matches and stuff like that all the time.
That's quite good too.
Really impressive. It really is. I mean, like Erik said, don't ever let anybody get you down. I mean, there's folks that were born without arms that play beautiful piano with their feet. I mean, there's just crazy things.
One guy plays guitar with his feet.
Yeah, it's just incredible what people are capable of.
That's a good question, Kenneth. Thank you. All right, Muhammad wants to know, hi, I just want your honest opinion. I want to buy a semi-automatic rifle. There are so many options available. Please tell me if I should buy an Arsenal SAM 107 SF or a Galil Ace. I want to buy one gun for which is enough for me. Which one would you like to suggest, or would you suggest something else? My budget is under $2,000. So basically the way that I looked at this question, we're not going to really talk about Galil Ace versus Arsenal because we kind of already discussed that in some of these previous questions, but he said his budget is around under $2,000. So I guess what this question becomes is, if you could buy one rifle for under $2,000, what would it be?
Well, if he's wanting to go between an AK or an AK variant, I'd always just go with an AK, personally.
Sure.
That's just
I mean, both of those are AK variants, and that seems to be what he's interested in.
They are. I think I would
That'd be a nice Vepr.
Yeah, I would stick to the tried and true, but I would probably buy a Vepr. We talked about that earlier. That's kind of our favorite, AK style rifle. Yeah. They've got the nice heavier barrels, like the RPK profile barrels.
I mean, you could buy, a decent Arsenal, and probably for under $2,000, still have enough money left over for a decent optic.
Well, no,
and maybe even some extra magazines and a case of ammo. Yep. So I mean, $2,000 definitely puts you in that range, no problem. Yeah, that's a good question. We thought, 5.45, 7.62 by 39. I mean, all those cartridges kind of have their merits. I would say that 7.62 by 39 is a little more available. I'd probably get like maybe an Arsenal, 7.62 by 39 AK. Get one with like the side folding stock. Get you like RS regulate mount and a decent little red dot or something, and some extra mags and ammo, and you could probably score all that for maybe right at $2,000, maybe a little bit more.
And you'd have a very capable 300-yard rifle.
Oh yeah, personal
easily.
defense. So that's a good question, Mohammed. Thank you.
All right, let's see. This is from Sean. I am on a SWAT team in northern Ohio. We use select fire M4s. It's a real pain. It's a real pain to go from safe to auto. Is there a way to change to the? Let's see. Is there a way to change the throw distance from each firing mode? Like, can it be like an MP5?
So he wants to know. You know, he's saying going from safe to full auto on his AR15. Now, mind you, this is a duty gun, so this is not just a normal AR. You have a third position. He's wanting to know that instead of having to swing that safety all the way around to get to full auto, is there some type of modified safety that would allow the gun to go into that mode a little bit easier? Not that I know of.
I'm not aware of any sort of 3-position safeties like that.
Now, there are 2-position safeties that allow a really discreet throw to be able to get from safe to semi, but I don't know about going to the full auto setting.
No, I don't. I mean, the biggest thing there would be, I see guys all the time, like the dude from T-Rex Arms and stuff, running, gunning, and all this mess, and he shoots quite a bit of, full auto weaponry as well on there, and he's constantly going between semi and safe and full auto, and he actually goes all the way back to safe when he transitions and such as that. So maybe look at him and just kind of see what exactly he's doing and how his hand is positioned and transition and stuff, and maybe try to copy that style.
You could actually change the physical safety itself. You may not change the throw of the safety, but maybe changing the lever of the safety might give you a little bit of different leverage for getting it around, Especially if you're on a SWAT team, you're wearing gloves and stuff, that might be something worth looking at. So that's a good question, Sean. I thought we'd answer that, and thank you for your service. All right. Jacob wants to know, I was wondering if it would be... No, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is a good one. Jacob thinks like I do. Okay.
Oh, boy.
I was wondering if it would be possible to brace a revolver. The idea came about because my future mother-in-law cannot hold up any firearm that has much weight due to a stroke causing limited functions in one of her arms. She also cannot work the slide on most autoloaders nor manage the recoil of a Ruger LCP type pistol. I would think that it would have to work similarly to the C96 Mauser, which is this gun, by the way. Talking about.
But I couldn't find anything online for sale. Any comments or alternative options would help. Thanks. P.S. I would love to see you test a Thompson Center Compass. We own 2 of them and would like to know what you all think of them. It would be a great budget option for suppressed hunting. We set ours up with a flash hider and bipod, and the even
look cool in all black.
Anything looks good in all black.
Something interesting. Well, the reason I chose this question is because he's talking about Thompson Center. A lot of people may not know this, but the old Thompson Center, Thompson Contender pistols, actually you could get a shoulder stock for them now.
And an extended barrel.
Now you'd have to add the extended barrel, but that was back when braces didn't exist. Now C96, which is the gun that he mentioned here, does not fall under NFA territory because of its age. It's determined a collectible and a relic, and it's on a list that is exempt from NFA restrictions on the use of a shoulder stock. So this is not a short-barreled rifle, but according to the ATF, it's also technically not a firearm. Okay, it's a collectible. It's an old-school gun. I mean, it's just this particular gun is probably almost 100 years old.
'Tis a curio and relic, but as far as is it possible to brace a revolver? Yes.
Absolutely. And, dare I say, we're going to do it. So stay tuned for that.
I'm not aware of anything out there that is actually manufactured for the purpose.
we're going to have to make it.
Yeah, it would take going to a gunsmith and having them weld on a fixture or drill and tap something or something along those lines to make it work.
We're gonna look into that, Jacob, and hopefully that'll find its way into a video. So thank you very much. That's a great question, Jacob. The short answer is yes, it can be done. All right, so good question, Jacob. Charles,
good afternoon. If you had a spending limit of $1,500 MSRP, and you were looking for a long rifle that's both range-worthy, long shots, and hunting-worthy, what would be your choice? Do not include a scope or accessories in this price, just the rifle. I've narrowed my search to the Bagara B14 HMR or a Browning X-Bolt Hell's Canyon. You do not have to choose between those two if you know a better option. Thanks for your time, Charles.
I thought that was a good question. So because we did mess with the Bagara when
Mike was here,
was down.
Mr. Guns and
I
Gear.
don't own one, but he did bring one down, and we were making shots out to 600 yards pretty easy with it.
Well,
shooting
and
really
his
good.
was in 308, and I've kind of been interested in a 6.5 Creedmoor for a little while, and the Bergara option, it's such a wonderful rifle at its price and has so many neat features for less than $1,000 in a lot of cases. But there's also rifles out there like the Tikka T3s, which are right around the same price point. And, you know, it's hard to say like which one of those you would pick, but
even a Remington Factory 5R can be had for under $1,500.
Like long shots. So, I mean, how long are you talking about? I mean, you could shoot 308 to 1,500 yards, but you're going transonic and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. 6.5 Creedmoor still doing that. So if you're talking like mile shots, you're talking 338.
If you're talking 1,000 yards and under, I mean, a 6.5 Creed or 308 is going to get you right in there.
But for less than $1,500, you could have an awesome rifle. The T3s, the T3Xs, I think, the newer ones. I can't remember what they're called.
If you're going to buy a Tikka T3, buy one that's threaded. Buy the threaded model.
Yep. Because
you're going to want to suppress it. I would strongly recommend anybody that's going to buy a bolt gun.
Yep.
You know, look, it ain't going to affect accuracy in a negative sense at all to have a threaded barrel cap on the gun. If you don't want to run a suppressor, run a brake on it.
Yep.
That's fine.
And two, being, you know, like good for target shooting and good for longer range hunting, if you will. Something like 6.5 with relatively heavy bullets in it, up in like the 140 range and such, is a perfect option. They're perfectly capable of you know, downing most medium size, some large size game from what I've seen.
Flat.
I've seen 6.5 take down elk and stuff like that with proper shot placement, and there's a myriad of bullets out there available for it. And you can go with some Sierras, go with the same weight target load as the same weight hunting load, and you pretty much don't have to change your zero really.
I mean, you can't go wrong with 6.5 or 30 cal. They're both proven. There's both you know, plenty of bullet weights and bullet profiles and all kind of different hand loading components you can get for that. So absolutely, Charles. Hopefully that points you in the right direction. I can't comment on the Browning gun.
Never
dealt with that one. So hopefully that helps you out, Charles. All right, Blake wants to know, to whom it may concern, where can I get this pistol? Is this something you sell? Thanks, Blake. So what he's referring to, he included a photo of the little Assassin's Ruger 1022 that we did, the Mark 1.
Yeah, well, the standard auto, the pre-Mark 1.
I saw that and I was like, yeah, I'm going to let Chad answer that.
So basically, I went to a pawn shop. I went pawn shop shopping, and I was looking very specifically for a like Ruger standard auto or a Ruger Mark 1 or Mark 2 that I could have my machinist cut the barrel all the way back to the receiver and have like a 2-inch barrel. And I found that gun, it was missing some parts and it was improperly assembled, so it was not functioning. So I wound up walking out the door with that thing for $125, and I took it to my machinist, had him cut the barrel back, and I just slipped a can on it. And it required a little bit of tinkering around with to get it running right, but it's basically something that I had made. But you can do it with any modern all steel Ruger pistol. As long as it's all steel, you're good. You can have it cut back and do whatever you want to with it, but basically it's just chopped all the way back to the receiver, and it literally has, from the chamber to the muzzle is 2 inches. It has like 1.25 inches of rifling, which is fun. But anyways, it's a custom thing. So if you want one, go pawn shopping.
They're cheap to make, Blake.
Oh, so, real cheap.
I mean, you can buy a used piece of crap Mark 1 that you don't mind chopping up, cut the barrel back, thread it, there you go, put a can on it, and there you go.
Well, and to I had Ray put it in the vice fixture up at the shop at Moss, and he drilled and tapped a little spot in the front for like an 832 shotgun bead. So my front sight is actually a shotgun bead.
Right.
So it's fun.
That's kind of fun, you know? That's a good question, Blake. Thank you. All right, Brandon wants to know. Now this question here is a little weird, but I thought that I would answer it because, believe it or not, this is a question that we get a heck of a lot. Okay, so Brandon wants to know. He said, I'm a veteran, and I'm trying to know how I could possibly be able to legally purchase and own a full auto Chris Vector or any modern firearm that is full auto for that matter as a collector and gun enthusiast. I've never had a chance to venture into the NFA side of the firearms world till now, and I'm confused on how some of it works. Could you help point me in the right direction? Again, I want to know how to legally do this. So he's not saying, hey, I want to circumvent laws and acquire some sort of illegal firearm. He's asking legally, How do you do such a thing? And that's a question that we actually get quite a bit. Guys, it is not illegal to own a machine gun. It's not. There are certain things that you have to go through. Now, it depends. Now, we could make this a 30-minute answer, but we're going to give you the short version. You have transferable machine guns, and you have posties, okay, which are basically law enforcement demos. So
there's a few others.
There's a few others, but for the most part, for the sake of this argument, what you're thinking of, when somebody goes and buys a brand new machine gun, okay, it's usually on department letterhead, and it's usually what they call a dealer sample, and you have to be a manufacturer, and you have to have an SOT and licensing, and your sheriff has to sign off of it, and unfortunately you can't do it strictly as a collector or an enthusiast. You have to be engaged in the business of buying and selling such items. So unfortunately for us peons and the rest of us nobodies, we can't simply obtain the licensing strictly for the case of just owning the guns. It has to be a little bit more of a reason than that. You can't do it just because you want to own the gun. You have to be engaged in the business of buying and selling these items. Or you have to buy a transferable gun, which would be a pre-86, before all the NFA bullcrap went down.
Well,
and they're very, very expensive. Now, you can buy, as an individual, a transferable pre-86, you know, transferable machine gun, but they're highly regulated. You have to pay a tax stamp. They have to be registered in your name, and you got to cough up a pile of money to buy them.
So there's some weird things in there, like Eric's mentioned, 86. There was a law passed called the Hughes Amendment that was a part of the Firearms Owners Protection Act that was passed in May of 86. And what that did was basically cut off the sale of newly manufactured machine guns to civilians. So anything that was manufactured after May was considered like law enforcement, demo, manufacturer, you know, all that only. No civilian could own those items after that. There's some weird quirky things in there like pre-May stuff where a dealer can buy them, but then the dealer can actually transfer them like upon their death to an heir or whatever the case is. I don't remember if it's the pre-Mays or not, but there's some weird quirky things in there about all that. And it probably would really require a complete video on the subject.
We're not claiming to be legal experts, and we're not claiming to know every ins and out. But
the funny thing about this is, like, if you wanted to order a brand new machine gun, whether it be like an HK MP5, whether it be a Chris Vector that's Select Fire, whatever it is, a brand new gun, a Select Fire Bren or an MPX or whatever, they're like, most of them are less than $2,000. That's just what they cost. But when you look at transferables, the supply and demand, you know, common economics has taken place ever since 1986, and it's just everything's been slowly trickling up in price. The cheapest guns that you could get were like the Mac 10s and Mac 11s, and just a few years ago they were less than $4,000. Now you're lucky to find them for $7,000 or $8,000, and that's on the cheap end.
Right.
You're talking thousands of dollars on the inexpensive side of NFA transferable ownership.
It's a complicated answer, but hopefully that kind of points you somewhat in the right direction. Unfortunately, it's not really feasible for an average person to go into that type of business simply for enhancing a personal collection.
Yep.
It simply just doesn't happen.
It would be nice, though.
It would be nice, but it doesn't happen. So, Brandon, that's a good question. Thank you. We get that question a lot, actually. All right, Abe wants to know. Oh, Honest Abe wants to know, guys, love your YouTube channel. I'm looking to get into my first AR, and I was looking at the Springfield Saint. Then I did some research on Springfield Armory Company and how they sold out us pro gun owners.
Yep.
So I wanted to know if they ever made things right, or should I even waste my time with Springfield Armory? Thanks, and please keep up the great work you do. I thought that would be kind of a slippery slope to tread upon.
There's a lot of companies like lately. I mean, you know, even in recent memory that have supported like some certain legislation that is not very popular, and let's just say that their customer base and the gun community let them know about it, and they've since redacted those statements. Springfield basically did the same thing, and
Daniel Defense.
Well, yeah, I mean the recent one was Daniel Defense, and there's a lot of people that are like, oh, boycott them, this, that, and the other, and all that, but you know that's definitely, you're right. I don't own a Daniel Defense. I do own some Springfield Armory stuff. I own an M1A. That I've had for several years, but am I going and like selling it or just throwing it away? No, I'm not. But,
well,
I don't know. It's just...
Let me play devil's advocate, okay? You made the statement, okay? That's the thing. You released the statement, all right? You knew, you read the statement before you released it. You knew what your statement was when it came to making a post about something.
Yep.
Do you think for 1 second that you post a bunch of anti-gun garbage that people are going to be happy with that?
Well, they
I mean,
did post
you
it on
approved the
Facebook.
statement. You approved the statement. How could you redact the statement when you made the statement? That's like me saying, oh, well, I don't like bubble gum. And everybody going, but I love bubble gum. Oh, well, I changed my mind. I like bubble gum.
But the thing,
that's just too late. You can't do that.
The thing is, like,
you made the statement. You said it.
If you didn't get all, if the companies didn't get all the flack for it, then it wouldn't be a big thing. But see, they got all that flack for it, and they're like, oh, maybe this wasn't the right choice.
You can't backpedal. You don't have that ability. When you make a statement, you know, it shows weakness for a company to go, all right, well, this is where we stand, and then people get mad. Oh, well, we changed our mind. The better thing to do is like, well, we're going to stand by our original statement, but we also understand where you guys are coming from, and we're going to suggest blah, 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 or do this and that. But always stand behind your decision. Don't backpedal. Nobody likes a backpedaler. And it just shows, like, those people are just chasing the dollar.
Yep. Unfortunately, they are.
I hate to say it,
but you know, there's a lot of people out there that have probably stopped buying Daniel Defense. There's a lot of people that are probably still not buying Springfield, and it's probably hurt their bottom line in the big scheme of things.
Yeah.
And you know, Daniel Defense is a local company here in Georgia, down in Black Creek. And you know, I don't want to see a local company hurt, but then again, you know, I don't want a local company supporting, you know, anti-gun legislation either. You know, I mean, gun. There's gun in there somewhere.
Well,
you know?
look,
So why would they do that?
Abe, I'm not going to tell you who to support and who not to support.
I would just say, I'd say go buy BCM.
I would, well,
I mean, I'm not going to say it, but
buy what you want, Abe. But if you feel, if your convictions related to it are strong enough, then vote with your feet. Otherwise, buy the dang gun. Don't worry about it. Springfield makes good guns. It's not, you know, it's not like they don't make a decent
like I said,
gun.
I ain't going to throw away my M1A.
And you know, if I owned a Daniel Defense, I wouldn't throw away a Daniel Defense either. But you know, that's up to each person to decide. All right, last question.
Yeah,
I know this has been a long video.
You're right.
All right, William wants to know, I really love your videos, but with so much anti-gun individuals talking out there, don't you think that the space alien video might have made the gun community look a little bit nuts? I do love your videos and keep up the good work. God bless, Dr. Bill. All right, well, William, thank you for the question, Dr. Bill.
Bye.
You know, I thought that was a good question. And, you know, I thought about ignoring the question, then I thought, well, you know what? He's right. He does have a valid concern, you know. The things that we do on this channel, you know, we try to have a little fun. We try to sometimes look at things with a little bit lighter flair. And sometimes you can't take everything super serious all the time. Sometimes you got to have a little fun. You know, we can't be so straight-laced and prim and proper all the time. Because then you start losing your humanity a little bit.
Gotta have a little slapstick in there.
You gotta have a little humanity about you, and sometimes you gotta laugh about things a bit. So I don't think that it hurts our position at all to goof around from time to time and let people know we're just human beings like the rest of them. In fact, I think it's a good bridge building exercise because it shows that we don't take ourselves too seriously. It's okay to take yourself seriously where it matters. But is that to say that, okay, you're a doctor, Bill, that it's always all business for you, and like every time you sit down to have dinner with your family that you're constantly like, oh well, blah blah blah, and making this big deal about, you know, the technicalities of how dinner was prepared. And I mean, no, you just sit down and you have dinner and you just do your thing. You know, it's not all business all the time. We always have to report so much doom and gloom on our channel. It's always some attack on us. And sometimes the best way to face danger is laugh in the face of danger. And sometimes laughing in the face of danger can mean just have a little fun and not taking yourself too seriously. So those videos are meant to be fun and they're meant to entertain people.
Well, my thing is like, you go through that video and you read comments, and the majority of the comments are like, thank you guys for doing this video amidst all this craziness going on right now. And that's what we felt like too, is like we had to deal with all this crazy anti-gun stuff.
And we still are.
And we still are, but we had to have a little bit of a reprieve in there somewhere or another, you know. And every now and again, like Eric said, you just got to have a little bit of fun. And no, I don't think that video made gun owners look crazy. I can think of many other things out there that people do that are very stupid that make gun owners look really
you know,
bad.
we could be eating Tide Pods, or we could be setting our mouths on fire, or we could be doing all this crazy stuff. I mean, gun ownership is actually a very normal and sedate kind of thing. It's just society has pushed us into a very negative corner and a negative light for no reason. Like they've really hurt the average person that just wants to be pro-gun, and they've made it very difficult to have that stance without being shunned. And it's sad that we live in a society where...
Well, political correct society.
Political correct society. So guys, that's been Mail Call today. We hope you enjoyed this video. We will do more of these, guys. I have hundreds, if not thousands, of questions from you guys. I will try my best to get to all of them. I do read every single response. Guys, if your question is not answered on air, don't think that we're ignoring your question or we don't want to answer it. We're trying to answer questions that we feel encompass most of the questions that we're getting as a whole. So if I answer one of these questions, chances are more than one person asks it, or we thought that it would benefit our viewers in some way. So don't think that your question is not valid, because it is, but obviously we can't get to everybody's question.
Ding dong.
I don't know how that happened.
Bye.
Sorry about that. I guess I didn't have my ringer on. We're gonna have a mulligan on that one. You're not gonna hear my phone go off very often, but you did there. But guys, thanks for watching today's video. Keep submitting your questions. We will do our best to answer them. And guys, we really appreciate all the support that you give us. Whether you purchase man cans to help support the channel, or purchase shirts over on Forge from Freedom, or if you're supporting us over on Patreon, all of those funds are graciously appreciated. I know I beat the dead horse. I know I mention it all the time. But guys, it's become very important that our fans do what they can to help support us, because we are in a position now, we're being attacked in every direction. And our ability to keep fighting on really does highly depend on the willingness of our viewers to help support us. So if you do that, thank you very much. We appreciate you watching today's video. We hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.